Morning all, and welcome to this edition of Cyclopedia. Not a good idea to film and ride. Apparently it's illegal as well. Anyway, today's video I'm going to be talking a lot about land reclamation and the results of, because it's a subject that has affected many people over the years in Singapore. Starting in the mid-60s, Singapore embarked on a huge long-term land reclamation program. Now the most obvious results are along the east coast area, and here where I am around Changi Airport, and the industrial side in the west near Jurong. Now the most commonly quoted figure you'll see in online sources is that Singapore has increased its landmass by around 22% since 1965. But I would argue that nowadays that figure is probably approaching somewhere near 25%, as there's still quite a lot of land reclamation work going on. A quick look on Google Maps will show you that Singapore is still growing. Although mainly these days it's in the outlying areas of Tuas and Palau Tekong, just over the water here. But for today's video, I'm going to focus on the East Coast region and show how the reclamation work changed the former coastline. Now the first stop on today's trip is here at Changi Beach Park, car park number 6, because this is the last place where Nickel Road over there follows its original course. From here the road would head directly south in roughly that direction around 500 meters to the sleepy village of Telok Paku, which was the site in those days of some government bungalows, which kind of served as a holiday spot for people looking to escape the heat of the city for a few days. Now those bungalows were demolished in the mid-1970s as construction of Changi Airport got into top gear. Now obviously it's not possible for me to follow the old coast road any further, as that would involve cutting across the grounds of Changi Airport, and as I've already been in trouble for trespassing once, I'm not going to do that again. So instead I'm going to skirt the perimeter and pick up the old coastline at our second point of interest. Okay, so I've finally arrived at my second point of interest for today, which is Tanah Merah Besar Road. Now, a few years ago, if you travelled 1 kilometre further in that direction, you would have been right at the beach. But now, that's where Terminal 3 of Changi Airport is located. Now, the road ended right at the coastline, and if you turned south a few metres, maybe about 100 metres south of the end of the road, would have been the cliffs where this road gets its name from. the third stop on today's tour, I'm now standing where Wing Lung Road used to be. Another victim of the rise of Changi Airport, it once led to the village of Kampong Air Gamaru, right about the position of the South End Reservoir within the grounds of Changi Airport.
Exercise safe distancing. We care about your well-being as well as those around you.
Somapah Road is another one that used to lead to the coast. It was named after Honma Somapah, an Indian former Singapore municipal worker turned successful businessman and landowner. A philanthropist who did lots of work with the poor, there was once a village and several roads named after him. Although Somapah Road, which once led to the coastal village of Mataikan, is the only one that remains today. Talking of Mataikan Village, if my calculations and my map overlay work is right, then where I'm standing is the exact spot where the village used to be, which is now Changi South Avenue 2. And the coastline would have run along this road, which is now bordering Tanah Country Club behind me, which would have been the ocean, and these industrial buildings here would have been the site of some more government bungalows for people to take holidays on the beach, which would have been right there. Now I feel like a swim right now. I wonder if Tanah Country Club will let me in for a paddle in one of the golf course lakes. Doubt it. Now, I'm standing at the end of Bedok Road, which was also where the East Coast Road ended many years ago. From here, the road headed inland in that direction to what was then known as Ulu Bedok, or remote Bedok, because in those days it was just all hills and trees and plantations and farms. There was no buildings whatsoever, and that's where I live, so it's kind of hard for me to comprehend. What's also interesting about this spot is right there where the sea used to be is where the first trial land reclamation project went ahead in 1962, I think it was. And when the East Coast reclamation work started proper, stages 3, 4, 6 and 7 used lots and lots of earth from down that way in what is present day Bedok Reservoir and Tampines. The former coastline is much easier to follow from here, as it is part of an official route called the Bedok Heritage Trail, which makes my job a lot easier. Wow, I started at 6:30 this morning when it was still dark, and I'm in Bedok and it's already lunchtime, but never fear, you're never too far from a hawker centre. Bedok Food Centre is right over there, so I'm off now to get some lunch. So I got my lunch. I'm sticking with halal Muslim food, Malay food today. So I've got a mee rebus, and then in here I've got some curry puffs and also goreng pisang, which is all my favourite stuff, because I saw the woman making the curry puffs and they look really fresh and nice, so I got some of those to try as well. And of course, favourite drink, sugar cane. Very satisfying lunch indeed. That was a really good lunch, although the sugar content was probably a bit higher than I normally eat. So let's carry on with the trail. Now I'm not sure, I'm guessing here, because I've read a lot about it, but I didn't know exactly where they were, but possibly this high ground behind me. It's at least probably 10 or 15 meters and there's houses on top. I'm wondering whether this could have been the old cliffs, because Tanamera cliffs, there were two sets. There was the small and the large, Besar and Kachil. And this ground, it used to be on the coast and it's quite high, so put two and two together, it might be the cliffs. Although that's a complete guess. If anybody else out there knows better than me, then please let me know in the comments, because I couldn't find them on any of the maps that I looked at. Stumbled across this block of about 6 or 7 old, I think they're shop houses, in a row, and you can immediately tell that they're pre-land reclamation just by the style and the look. So much nicer than all the modern stuff nearby. Did I just say that? Sorry if that's your modern house over the road. Another landmark on the old East Coast is the restaurant behind me, which is the Hua Yu Wee in Mandarin, or Hua Yu Wee in Hokkien. I don't know if I said that right. But anyway, this place has been here since before the reclamation, and according to online sources, it's a 1920s structure. And if you are lucky enough to go inside and go around the back, they've still got the original steps that led down to the beach. I'm on my last stop for today. Now, as you know, history, there can be a lot of fond memories, but there's also a lot of sad memories, and this place will hold sad memories for many people. And this is Jalan Puay Poon. I'm kind of embarrassed because, as you know, I live in Bedok. I go to East Coast Park all the time. I've cycled past this spot dozens and dozens of times, and I've never ever noticed or paid attention to this information point behind me. Now, it's significant because, as you know, I'm tracing the old coast. This used to be the coastline. Over there it would have been a beach. And after the Japanese conquered Singapore in 1942, they went through a systematic purge of the Chinese population in Singapore. It's called Suk Ching. In Mandarin I think it's Su Qing, but I'm not sure. I don't know the Mandarin for it because I haven't looked it up. But what it was the Japanese basically checked a lot of the Chinese population of Singapore and weeded out the people they thought were going to cause them trouble or were anti-Japanese. And because at the time Japan was having the war in China, and Japanese and Chinese didn't really like each other. Well, they hated each other in fact. So you know, when the Japanese conquered Singapore, they were suspicious of the Chinese population, so they weeded out all the people who they thought were going to cause them trouble, and they took them to beaches all around Singapore and just killed them, shot them, machine gunned them. As a consequence of that, there was quite a few mass graves discovered around Singapore a few years after the war, and this is one spot where a mass grave was discovered. I've decided I'm going to split my East Coast Trail into two parts because I've been going almost 8 hours today and it's really hot and I'm absolutely shattered, and I've still got miles and miles to go. Join me next week for part 2. In the meantime, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, click the bell for notifications if you don't want to miss one of my future videos. I'm saying this stuff really quickly because I want to take this hat off as soon as possible because I absolutely hate wearing them. In the meantime, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and see you next week. Over and out.